Hello, everybody, and welcome into another week of Tuesday Night Thunder. We got a good one in store for you here tonight, and as always, joining me in the booth, co-host Dawson Wise. Before we get things started, Dawson, how you feeling here tonight?
Oh, doing well. I love this car track combo. I said that on Thursday. Still love it this week, and what a great primer for the NASCAR weekend this weekend in Atlanta.
Yeah, going to be a good one, that's for sure. And here tonight, we got some own action to settle out, some of our own, if you will. And on the pole, no surprise, making a return, Cody Nagels, to see him put down a fast lap. 32.1 is the pole time for that 6 car. Garrett Maines on the outside in second, last season's champ. It's going to be Ethan Eckert back in third with Michael Triscaro in fourth. Jeff Merck rounds out the top 5. Matthew Baker in 6th with Andrew Navarro in 7th. J.R. Miller for PGR eSports starts in 8th. C.I. Smith back in 9th. That's C.L. Smith in 9th. And it's going to be Christopher Carter rounding out your top 10.
Row 60, 89 for the Jack Shack. Trevor Ostronaut starts from 11th tonight with Nightmare Esports driver Matt Lee to his outside in 12th. Row 7 will be Steve Sizemore in the 8 machine with Larry McDonald in the 80 alongside him. Row 8 starting 15th, Evan Carlbahn in the 71 for One Stop Motorsports. And to this outside, it'll be the 62 of Landon Velicki. Row 9, another OSM car, Jared Haynes in the 7, and Mark Mondell from McCullough Motorsports he'll roll from 18th. And row 10, rounding out the top 20, will be Jonathan Herbert and Mitch Regattas.
Starting 21st here tonight is going to be Dylan Jones, and making his return after a long wait and a suspension period, Logan York is back tonight. He'll roll off 22nd. John Ward for Hyper Motorsports in 23rd. Richard Elliott 24th with Mike Davenport 25th. Joshua McCullough in 26th. Justin Mills 27th with Brock Westermelin in 28th. Christopher McCullough 29th, and Sean Corbett rounding out your top 30. Ken McCullough Jr. starts 31st, and it's Jimmy Emos rounding out the field here tonight. He will start in 32nd. All right, looking at your race info here real quick. Atlanta Motor Speedway, a hybrid between a super speedway and a mile and a half. 110 degrees starting track temp here tonight. Not quite as hot as what we saw last Thursday in PGR at this track and in this car. Weather outside 74 degrees, 44% humidity, cloudy skies, winds at 3 miles an hour. We are in the Xfinity Series as always. Distance tonight going to be 100 laps at 40% fuel. 3 total sets of tires, no fast repair fix setups. And the stage break tonight going to be a little bit later. It will come at lap 35. All right, well, Dawson, we know what we had here Thursday night. Track temp, not quite as hot. Things a little bit different there, so we'll see what happens, but certainly excited, and I know a lot of drivers are using this race as maybe a little bit more of an opportunity than, say, the normal Daytona Talladega, because this track, I would say, factors in a little bit more skill than what we're used to seeing. It's going to be a good one, and here we go. Looks like actually lights are going to stay on, so we'll run an extra lap. The anticipation continues.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it before with these long parade laps. They seem longer and longer and longer. The more time you sit in the cockpit before the green flag comes out, and especially at a track like this. And again, Thursday, a bit of an oddball in terms of track temperature, track climate, but tonight returning a bit closer to normal. And now it's interesting, if it had been 24 hours from now, I would be willing to bet money we'd be under the lights, because iRacing is adding the night race into Atlanta in tomorrow morning's update. But unfortunately, it comes about 12 hours too late for us here. That would have been a lot of fun. But tonight, just normal Atlanta in the daytime, a unique track, a fun track. This place is a blast. When you get to running it, it kind of makes you think, makes you balance tire with aggression, makes you think, okay, can I go do this? Should I go do this? Should I stay where I'm at? Should I manage my track position? Whoa, almost a moment there on the pace lap. Not sure what happened there. They're already starting to manage stuff here on the pace laps, almost making mistakes already.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. I'm excited about what you just mentioned about the night race here. I've been waiting for it. I mean, how weird is it that we have a track in iRacing that the light poles are up, but the actual lights don't turn on? Not the case anymore, so looking forward to that. And by the way, you notice some of the paint schemes still loading in. Did have a couple issues with trading paint, so if they don't all load in, although it looks like they are now, I do apologize. But nonetheless, we are expecting maybe a guest later, again with Matt Mettler, hopefully joining us in the booth at some point. It looks like the lights are off. Pace car will make the left turn this time, and we are ready to go at Atlanta. All right, side by side, field in the hands of Cody Nagels and Garrett Maines as they work into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Atlanta.
Lap 1 complete, lap 2 up on the scoring pylon as Cody Nagels goes bottom to top for the lead. Now back to the bottom in front of Ethan Eckert, and already it's very, very obvious that this race is much different than the one we saw on Thursday night. Thursday night, it was quick, apparent quick from the jump. The tires were going to be such an issue that these guys were going to have to really back off, really manage. The lap times were half a second slower than qualifying pace. 5 laps into the race.
Trouble.
Oh, Cody Nagels going around. There's trouble further back, but almost trouble at the front as well. 4 wide up here as Nagels and Maines got together.
I think they all saved it. Yes, they did. Wow. Boy, that was a big moment avoided here as the 9's still slow, trying to get back up to speed. That's Mitch Regattas, who's trying to get back in line. He does. And boy, that was a close call just about a lap or two after we got the green flag here. Let's back this up and see what happens. I mean, we had at least one, if not a couple cars completely sideways here. I thought for sure this was going to be our first wreck of the night, but somehow they're going to find a way to hold on to this. So let's go back here. Thought it may have started right around Larry McDonald, but we'll go to the blimp cam first. In fact, to take that back, we're going to go to the TV tower instead. Let's see if we can... Oh, J.R. Miller, the 78. That's the car that gets out of shape here. Does he just get loose? I think he does. At least on replay here. Yeah, the 78 just gets loose, and you saw he had to correct, tried to walk it up the track, but when he did that, the back end got loose. At the same time, we had a near close call at the front as well. But man, a big incident avoided there, Dawson, with everybody saving it, and maybe this will be the week we break that streak of a big one early.
Well, Cody Nagels up front, the incident up front, I didn't see the one back there with J.R. Miller, but as Cody went bottom to top to block Garrett, Garrett crossed back over his back bumper, and as he got down to his left rear, I don't know if he took the air off the left rear of the car or if he tapped the left rear of the car. Something happened. Cody got way out of shape, had to cut the car back to the right just to keep it from spinning. Both those cars were out of control. Somehow everybody makes the save, and man, up front, I guess that wasn't a warning to any of these guys because we're three wide, 2 rows deep, already at the front of the field on lap number 5. That's going to allow that second group that kind of got broken off with the J.R. Miller incident to close back up and get this gap back because these guys, goodness, they are all over the aggression meter early in this one in a race where, yeah, it's not Thursday where the tires are going to be that bad, but the tires definitely still matter. These guys, not much regard for their Goodyear Eagles right now.
No, and they probably don't need to because I think for most of them, Dawson, they're just as surprised as we are to see how much more grip there is in the racetrack right now when the track temps realistically only about, 20 to 25 degrees cooler than it was on Thursday. And, I make it sound like that's not much, but of course at a track like Atlanta where these cars are already kind of pushing the limits by being full throttle around this 1.5 miles. So when the track temp goes up, grip goes down, but you can see a couple of shadows right there around the entry of turn number 1. Overall, the point is, grip level's looking really good right now as we've already seen 3 wide a couple of times. And Navarro, Nagels, Garrett Maines looking like 3 of the most aggressive drivers on the track. And how about Matthew Baker? Different looking paint scheme for him here tonight. Some cool looking, looks like a purple or magenta, gold and white scheme for him here tonight. We'll see if that brings a change of luck and maybe the 5 can get back to victory lane.
Well, he's hoping to. He already has this season, so he's already kind of done his job, assuming he makes all the starts. But regular season points still matter. There's still that regular season bonus for the playoffs in terms of points that kind of guarantee you through that first round, much like the NASCAR Cup Series and NASCAR All 3 Series have, where if you win the regular season championship, you get a big boost to your playoff points. So Matthew Baker going for that. So is Garrett Main. So is Andrew Navarro. Cody Nagels is just here to race. Not much regard for him on points because he's not a full-time points driver. That's why he's so aggressive early, is because he really doesn't have anything else to lose except to race for a win tonight. Kind of a wild card here and a bunch of drivers up front. They could really use a good points day, and that's basically everybody in this front pack, save for Cody and C.L. Smith, the newcomer in the 7th position on the racetrack.
Yeah, he's impressing early. He's already picked up a couple spots from where he started this race at, and I mean, as aggressive as they are up front, how about the battle for everybody on back, trying to catch back up to the front? Oh, man, J.R. Miller's out of shape again. What is going on with this 78 car here tonight? I mean, this is trouble from a guy that doesn't normally have trouble. Let's back this up again as you see him in the wall out of 4. He gets into the corner here. I don't think, is he getting pushed here? No, he's not. He just, well, maybe he was, actually. We need to look at that from the chopper view to actually be able to tell. Veliky was certainly close, although I'd almost find it a little bit difficult to believe he'd push him into the corner. Certainly they know better, and he wasn't. It's just, that's a second time J.R. Miller's gotten loose. I don't know what's going on with the 78 here tonight, Dawson. If, you know, he tried to run a different steering ratio, I'm just not sure, but it's certainly really odd to see one of the veterans who has won in this series before having this much trouble this early tonight.
It could be maybe it's a lack of practice since Thursday. I'm not sure. Maybe just the track conditions are kind of taking him by surprise a little bit. Maybe prepared for something like Thursday where it's not like Thursday night. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Could be a number of factors, but could be all bad luck as well. I mean, unfortunately, the bad luck bug has hit some guys in this field over the last couple months, so maybe that's it as well. Man, up front, these guys are all over the place. Garrett Maines has thrown a couple of blocks that I had to hold my breath because I thought they were going to trigger a wreck, and that was allowed. Landon Veliky, Jared Haynes, Matt Lee, Evan Carbon, John Ward, and on back as the train starts to grow. That's allowed that group to get in back of this lead group because this lead group could just single out. They could have run away. They could have driven away and raced for stage points instead. They got greedy, started racing each other, and then allowed a bunch more cars to join back in. A lot more energy in this lead draft right now. Lap 12 complete at the line.
And that was the group that I was actually keeping an eye on, right, as J.R. Miller had that issue because he was the car that was leading that second pack, which is now merged back into this lead group. Joshua McCullough, Jonathan Herbert there going to go to the inside of John Ward as he'll fall back a few more positions. Dylan Jones, and you knew we had to make a stop on him at some point here tonight because, yes, he had been under an iRacing ban for a few weeks, and I know he's excited to be back. Logan York in the 0-2, looking to see if he can return to victory lane here tonight. Currently, he's up 4 spots from where he started this race at, and, oh, trouble. Matt Lee on the apron here. And it looks like Veliky's going to have to dodge by going into the pits. And that is a mistake for Matt Lee early. I couldn't assume that there's any reason he'd be trying to go to the pits right here. I think there was something that led to this I think that right front tells the story. Look at the damage. As you can see, that right front fender is crumpled in quite a bit. So he'll go to his pit box here. It'll be interesting to see if he fixes this damage or just tries to maybe serve the penalty, as they're going to beat that damage out pretty quickly. Yeah, he's not going to take long. And Dawson, that's a smart choice here because, well, even with just that, look at this. He's going to lose a lap. That's how quick the lap times are here at Atlanta. Only about, 30 seconds or so. But let's back this up here and see if we can break down exactly what happens here to the 04. He was running back of the pack here. He wasn't up front, but he wasn't necessarily at the back either. Just kind of single file in line. And then, he just gets loose. Well, I think
he's coming to pit road.
I think you're right.
I think he and Landon Veliky had planned to come to pit road.
But why would you pit that early? That's my question is, what would draw the 04 to come in this early? I mean, that damage, it clearly appears had been there for a little bit, but I just don't see any reason for a car that was sticking in the draft like that. Well, actually, I take that back. I might know exactly why here, because remember, it's only 40% fuel, so they may have been pitting at maybe the beginning of that window to try to make it to the end of the stage. I wonder if that's why.
Yeah, short pit, get out of the field because they're racing really hard up front. It honestly is a pretty heads-up call. I don't mind it. The problem is when you get down the pit road, it slows you down a lot, both those cars, and it's not going to benefit them. Now, luckily for them, they have the stage brake that'll bail them out, but, man, a tough break for both those cars early. I like the strategy, just not great execution.
Yeah, not very great execution indeed. Good news is, though, with that stage break, well, maybe not good news because they have both fallen a lap down as a result, or at least we know for now Matt Lee has. Not sure if Veliky has as well. But once these leaders pit, then they might be okay. Here's the onboard view, or rather the driver cam view of Michael Triscaro as he currently sits towards the front of the field right now, runs in that 8th position, down 4 from where he started, but it's got a great run going so far as you see the 13 of CL Smith on his outside. And then last but certainly not least for driver cams here tonight is the driver who runs just behind that 34, and that is Trevor Oswanoth for the Jack Shack. He's got himself a good run going here tonight, and I feel like Trevor's kind of due to get back to victory lane, Dawson. It's been a little while, and I think that 89 tonight might be his night. And of course, you can't forget about the other NBG driver in the field here tonight, and that is Jeff Merck. I know he loves this track, and if you actually think back to the Little Dog Big Dog series race, excuse me, not the Little Dog Big Dog series, but a couple of times we've been here through a couple of the different series, Merck has a tendency to love running up front, especially at this track. He's so good with the throttle control that Atlanta kind of requires. We know he's good at tracks like Daytona and Talladega, so no surprise to see him getting the job done at a hybrid.
He's a guy that loves mile and a halves and a guy that loves super speedway racing. So when you smash them together, he tends to be pretty good at both. He's kind of, one of the aces, if you will, on the mile and a half tracks off the super speedway scene, and that's why we anticipate him to run up front. Why he's doing so tonight. Now he falls back to 5th here. A strategic move though, because I think pit stops are coming up here pretty shortly. We're getting close to the end of that window that I think that they can make. I think the leader's getting ready to pit here in the next few laps.
Yeah, I would think so, especially with that single file line on the inside getting longer and longer each and every lap. Now, a couple drivers who have been hanging around in this draft for a while, they may have the opportunity here to go an extra lap, try to make up a little bit of time on these leaders. But Dawson, what I'm really interested to see is after trouble with the first pit sequence, if you will, for Matt Lee and Landon Veliky, how does the rest of the field deal with this pit road here? It's not quite the same as when we go to Daytona or Talladega where you kind of can merge off once you get off of turn 4. Here, pit road is so close to being off turn 4 that you've got to slow down way before you get to that point. And so I'm curious, do drivers try to get on the apron before they start to slow down? Or do they try to slow down on the inside and hope that everybody else just can go up top and go around?
You probably want to maximize the track position, maximize the speed that you carry onto the pit lane. So my guess is guys go to the apron in the middle of the corner like we just saw Matt Lee and Landon Veliky try to do. There's no benefit really to me to go to the apron other than you don't get hit. But if you pit with a big enough group, you really don't have to worry about the guy behind you, which we anticipate that Garrett Maines and Navarro and Baker and Nagels and Merck, they're all on a relatively similar strategy. You can only go so far in this car. As hard as they've been racing, I anticipate all these guys to pit together. If that's the case, it makes it a little bit easier to get on the pit road, at least the first time around. Now, no takers yet, but I don't know. They haven't added the convenient turn 3 commit line that they have in the real NASCAR track that we'll see this weekend. It's still free-for-all on when you come down pit road.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we could probably use that right now, but we're not going to get it. So, I mean, for CL Smith here, Dylan Jones, and looks like a couple others now, we're going to go back to the high side here. Maybe they're okay to continue to stay out for now, and they want to continue to try to make up as many positions as they can before they have to pit. Maines and Navarro here still out in front. No sign of them dropping down to the pits just yet as they're going to go by one of the lappers here. I believe, is that going to be Jimmy Emos? No, that's going to be J.R. Miller in the 78. As further back, you can see this pack trying to regroup in one before this first pit stop. That's Jared Haynes, by the way, in the 7, one of the one-stop motorsports drivers. He made the playoffs last season, looking to do it again this season. Hasn't quite captured that first win yet, but I think it's knocking on the door for the 7 if he can get everything else to go in his favor for one of these races. There's Evan Carlbon, by the way, back in the 15th spot in the 71. He's got himself a good run going so far. Hasn't lost or gained since the start of this race just yet. But the driver out of Berkeley Township, New Jersey, sticking with a couple of the guys that he knows best right now, and that is another one of the OSM drivers, so we'll see if he can get to the front before this race is all said and done.
I'm beginning to wonder here up front. I'm not sure if it's a tire disparity, but I don't really think it is. I'm wondering if some guys are starting to save. Maybe to strategically make this pit stop, to only have to take 1 can of fuel, which would make it a significantly shorter stop. There's that pit entry. Maines, Navarro, Nagels, awfully quick. Navarro's going to spin it. Oh, my goodness. Couple guys spinning it. Looks like York, Haynes, and one more car back there. Evan Carlbon for One Stop Motorsports. 6 cars on, and pit stops begin.
I was going to say, looked like for all of them there, I mean, if you didn't lock it up, then you couldn't try hard enough because they were all getting in just about as hot as they could. And I think Garrett's okay. Navarro was probably the driver I was most concerned with about getting a speeding penalty right there, but fire out of the pipes for Maines and Nagel shows that they're back on the throttle, ready to go. Look at that.
Dylan Jones, Michael Triscaro are into each other, and the caution flag's going to come out. More wrecking. Mert, Alswornoth, Baker has to bail. Chaos on the pit road entry.
Chaos indeed. First caution here of the night, and it's going to come about 8 laps before we get to the stage break, which is going to put us in an interesting restart. But before we talk about that, what went wrong here? There's Trevor Alswornoth, Sean Corbett, both getting back up to speed after their close call. Dylan Jones, looks like he was able to roll on and get to his pits. And then for Michael Triscaro, we didn't quite get to catch the damage he may have sustained through this, but oh, heavy damage. That's the answer there, Dawson. Big impact, and I can see over here in the driver cams for Triscaro, looked like for a minute there he was taking the gloves off, and that's going to be a night ender for him. He threw the hands up. He's not sure what happened, and I'll tell you what, I'm not really sure either here. We knew pit road was going to potentially be sketchy, and looks like that may be exactly what happened here. So let's back it up and see what happened. First round of pit stops, guys got in aggressive. Second round here, they didn't all get in, apparently, as Mert goes low. And then Eckert, well, it's not even Eckert so much. Ooh, I know what the problem's going to be right here is, does Jones try to pit and Triscaro is going to stay out? Let's see.
It's Matthew Baker that tries to pit the 5 car, and he's still ain't on the racetrack.
You can't do that. You just can't have that happen here. And I mean, you know, I know guys can call it out, so at the same time, I guess you could say, well, maybe they had to know it was coming. So if we assume that he called it out, maybe, but if he didn't call it out here, Dawson, that's just one of those things that it can't happen here because it's, you know what's going to happen. And for Triscaro there, he drops down to follow Jones. I don't know if Jones had a plan to pit, but, you know, at the same time, part of me thinks if Mike knew he was going to stay out that lap, should he have stayed up to be safe? It's just a hard call, and I think at the end of the day, it's just a result of we haven't gone here much, and even less than that, we haven't had many green flag stops here.
Well, it's a combination of that. It's a head scratcher to me, in that we know from hearing from both those guys that Triscaro and Baker, they run together on Tuesday nights. I mean, that should be even if you don't call it out to everyone on track, that should be a call at least to your teammate. And Michael Triscaro, I'm not sure if did Baker just not call it out at all? Maybe even to his teammates? I mean, that would be really weird. A total head scratcher there. Dylan Jones, Michael Triscaro, CL Smith. I mean, they're innocent bystanders. I'm not sure what happened there. There had to have been some kind of miscommunication because those two run together as teammates, and I can't imagine that Michael Triscaro would have heard Matthew Baker say that and then still run in the back of Dylan Jones when Baker goes to pit. I can't imagine that happened. Somebody miscommunicated somewhere. Yeah, I would completely agree. And for Dylan Jones, rear end got ripped off of that race car. But besides that, everybody that spun down to the pits, I think with relatively minor damage. The worst damage, at least for a majority of the field here, came on this second impact. Michael Triscaro was already relatively destroyed. And then I think at this point as a driver, you're, I don't want to say dazed or stunned, but you're kind of just trying to figure out what the heck just happened. And as we ride on the onboard, there's the contact. Triscaro has to stay out. You see the hood fly off here. And well, actually, I don't know if that's the case, Dawson. What it looks like to me, especially from the cockpit view, is he's turning that wheel, and the car's just not really turning. So he may have had some sort of suspension damage there as he goes to turn through the quad over here, and it just doesn't do it. Car starts to go straight, and then, as you said, innocent bystander CL Smith and J.R. Miller nowhere to go. That's a big hit for Michael Triscaro into the outside wall. Totals his car, along with the 13 and 78. Yeah, really tough break for everybody involved there, and can't imagine any of them are going to be too terribly happy with the driver of the 5 who gets away relatively unscathed, but nonetheless, that's how the breaks fall sometimes in a really tough one, man. For Triscaro, pretty tough start to the season for him. Yeah, it certainly has been, but still a long ways to go. A lot of things that can happen, but as for tonight, his chances have come to an abrupt end. 29 of 100 laps complete. Looks like it's going to be about 31, I think, when we get the green flag here, as the lights are still on the pace car. And so it's going to be a pretty short shootout here to the stage break. Everybody's going to be good on fuel. It's going to be a question of who can get back to the green-white checkered first. Or I guess I should say green and white checkered first. And, I mean, right now, they're still trying to figure out positioning. I don't know what's going on here, Dawson, but they're going 3 and 4 wide through the tri-oval here as we get to 1 to go. Impromptu 4-wide salute here on road 2. I'm not sure what in the world is going on here. I have no idea. Some kind of mass scoring error. Now Cody Nagels moves out of his spot, moves to the bottom. Chris Carter, Justin Mills, Mike Davenport, Logan York, all trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. And Carter's still on here. I've never seen anything like this before. It's a mass scoring error here. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, they're trying to get it sorted out, and sometimes, yeah, see, they're going to delay the green, so you're right, Dawson. It's got to be something with the scoring error, and we've seen this happen once in a while. It's usually pretty rare, but when you have an incident like that where you've got multiple cars going down to the pits, some come out of the pits, some slide in late, that it just, sometimes it mixes up iRacing, and it has to get sorted out, and Ron Morris Jr., series owner, is up there in the race control tower trying to get things sorted out for now, and so as he does so, that's going to mean even less laps here for the stage break, and if I'm these guys further back, I'm saying, come on, we got to get this green flag out because this is not like Daytona or Talladega. I mean, only a mile and a half in length and only 30 seconds a lap. They're going to go by quick here. And if it's only about a 2-lap shootout to the stage, if you're not in the top 5, I don't think you have a shot at it. But for Navarro and Maines here, you know, they're going to race very, very aggressive here all the way for that stage finish. Garrett Maines, he seems to have a knack for not only winning races, but especially these stages in Tuesday Night Thunder. And then for Andrew Navarro, I was just getting ready to say, if you remember, he actually got the win on Thursday night. He was able to just edge out Kyler Wynn and Dylan Basin coming to the line. As there you see a lot of cars going to get let by that probably should have been on the lead lap, but somehow fell a lap down to the scoring. As there goes the Hyper Motorsports captain. He almost sideswipes Navarro. Brock Westmoreland's going to go by as well. I think that was Justin Mills who got through. And so now the lights will go off. They'll try this again, Dawson, but there's still drivers trying to get by.
Oh, my goodness. This is a scoring error that's taken several laps to clean up, and now even that they have, to me, well, it still doesn't look like they figured much out. So, well, now they start to re-rack, and where did Garrett Maines go? Garrett Maines was not on the lead lap, I guess. He was on the tail end of the lead lap. What in the world is going on with the scoring right now? Maines is back in 16th, so much for that. It'll be Navarro and Chris Carter on the front row.
Yeah, and this opens the door for drivers who really need those stage points. I'm looking to pretty much anybody on this outside row. You've got Christopher Carter, Christopher McCullough, and Ethan Eckert, all drivers that would love to grab some stage points here. And you can't forget about Mike Davenport, who sits second on the inside. We'll have to see what happens here, but I look to see Christopher Carter race that 44 really aggressive. And if you're Navarro, do you do what you've seen Maines do pretty much all night and try to control these lanes? Or do you maybe stick to one here with it just being a 2-lap shootout?
I think you got to try to control. I think you control the run and do what you can to go back and forth between lanes and make sure you stay out front to win the stage.
Yeah, and I apologize. I said 2-lap shootout here. Looks like it's actually going to be, should be a 4-lap shootout. Yep, to decided here. So as the pace car makes that left turn, they'll go 2x2 back into the restart zone. Navarro sees the green flag back in the air. And who gets the better jump? It is that 44. Navarro's going to get out to a good enough lead. He'll jump clear of the 25 as they rocket down towards turn 1. Not going to dive down just yet. He tries to widen out that entry to make sure nobody can make a move on him. Christopher McCullough's going to stay high as Chris Carter drops to the inside. Here comes Eckert and Baker pushing that high lane. They're going to get even off of 2.
And they're going to get a huge run, too. They're almost triple tandem down the backstretch and into 3. Chris McCullough may go all the way to the lead. By the time they climb the banking, he will. McCullough by a bumper. He's got help from Eckert. Oh, man, but Chris McCullough's car is dancing right now. They're going to have to split. Eckert, Baker through the middle. Where did Garrett Maines come from? All of a sudden, he's 6th with 3 to go in the stage, but it's Ethan Eckert, the man that may be in the driver's seat. Baker may split him in the middle.
Oh, Carter's going to lose it. There goes the 25. Hold on to it, Chris. He's trying to save it as he gets onto the apron. Yes, he will. He keeps it together. We keep it green. Back up front we go. Navarro, no help on the bottom. Eckert will roll clear with Matthew Baker up top. 2. How many do they get clear? It's going to be 3. Garrett Maines gets clear as well. Baker doesn't drop low yet. Eckert not going to be able to throw a block, so now Baker will draw even off at turn 4. 2x2, and now the outside lines up.
Oh, here comes some cars from out back. Mike Davenport, Steve Sizemore in the 8, Trevor Osbornoff, Jeff Mert. Further back, Chris McCullough fell all the way to 10th. At risk of not getting stage points, turn down the hill goes Garrett Maines. Navarro going to stay top side with Baker, and Garrett has no help. Oh, contact! 5 and the 1 into the doors of each other right there. Goodness, that was a close moment for the lead. Baker gets clear, but all the help is still topside. Navarro, man, he is fighting that race car off 4.
I was getting ready to say, for all the pushing he did, he does not look like that car's handling well. Oh, Baker thought about a block there, wasn't going to make it happen. Garrett slides up out of the quad oval, but he's going to draw back even into turn 1. Man, he's trying to side draft this 5 back. The top's going to have a huge run if he can do it. Here comes Navarro and Eckert. Baker looking for a block, not going to happen.
Oh man, Matt Lee and Garrett Maines came together. It's now on the battle of who has the better pusher. So far, it's the top. Navarro gets out of shape and into the wall. Garrett Maines out of shape. Baker, they're all out of shape. Wreck it out back. It's Osranoff. Matthew Baker somehow wins stage 1.
Baker takes the stage as a couple cars get some pretty significant contact out back. Navarro was one of them, and then Trevor Osranoff was the other, and I think he got more damage. Yeah, man, the 89 spun around and comes to a halt along the outside safer barrier, and the front end and the rear of that race car is all torn up. Left side, I mean, he's got damage on just about every corner. That Toyota Supra, he's going to drive it down to the pits. He won't even... Man, he's got suspension. He made heavy contact here, clearly a couple times. That's a tough break for Trevor Osranoff, who was just trying to make it to the end of that stage. Let's go back and take a look at it here. As the yellow flag, I'm not sure if it came out just before the line or if race control let him race it all the way through, but let's go back first to what gets Navarro up. And for what it's worth, this 44, I mean, he was out of shape for about the last, I would say, 3 laps or so. And I don't know if he gets any help here, Dawson. No, he doesn't. He just, I think he's one of those drivers that's maybe running that wheel ratio where he can really wheel it, but unfortunately, the byproduct of that is that slight overcorrection right there. Turns the car back to the outside. He may not be, but the point is, that overcorrection that he makes as he gets loose here is what shoots him up into the outside wall. There's no contact. And I think Trevor Osranoff kind of does more of the same here. As, yeah, the 89, you see him get loose, Dawson, and then tries to correct, gets a little bit loose again, and that second correction right there just snaps back to the right, and, man, that's a pretty hard shot. Tank slapper, if you will, for Trevor Osranoff, as everybody else is going to luckily be able to sneak by. But then for the 89 here, finally loops around, and he's going to take one more. Oh, my goodness. Did you see? Who was that snuck through? Was that?
It was Sean Corbett, the 45.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness. That was almost catastrophe for both of those cars. Corbett, you got to think that was a pretty hard shot to sneak through that gap. But, man, I don't know, Dawson. We're seeing a couple drivers tonight that are getting loose, but instead of saving it, we've seen a lot of overcorrections that have led to big hits.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a steering ratio thing either. I mean, it happens on basically any settings. It's the car more than it is your settings, and just that it snaps really quickly. It bites, and then all of a sudden when it bites, you're out of control, and that's what happened between the car, the racetrack, the track temp, all factors into that. And unfortunately, it's something we see a lot at Atlanta, and it bites a couple drivers right there. Navarro, and more significantly, Trevor Osranoff, who got a lot of damage out of that, which is weird. I mean, the second hit to the wall looked pretty bad. Other than that, did not look like he should have that much damage out of that incident, but he does, unfortunately, and that's a tough break for Trevor Osranoff.
Certainly is. And as we get ready to go back green, looks like we do have Matt Mettler here in the booth with us. And so we'll see if we can get him in here, dialed in, and get ready to go here for the final stage. Matt, how you doing here tonight?
Austin, I'm doing great. Fired up, ready to rock and roll. Pleasure to be up here in the booth with you guys. You found the right broadcast booth. Now I'm just trying to get loaded into the right race session on the iRacing side of things, and I'll be locked, ready to rock and roll.
Sounds good, and we'll go ahead and wait till you get in to get things going, but then once Matt gets in, we'll all go ahead and get alternating and get after it here as the drivers are ready to get back going. Lights are, again, they are off, so looks like up front here is going to be Matthew Baker alongside the 8 of Steve Sizemore. By the way, that's one of the, I don't know if I want to say more recent, but certainly drivers that maybe we haven't seen out quite as much, but that is one of the Hyper Motorsports teammates, so you know he's going to bring speed whenever he's out on the racetrack. And then you've got Landon Veliky, Mike Davenport, row 2, Ethan Eckert, Jeff Merkin, row 3. Then Herbert and Haynes back in row 4, Von Dell, and Evan Kralbaum rounding out row number 5. And when they get to green here, Dawson, looks like it's going to be about 62 laps, 62, 63 laps to go. And so that's going to be a couple green flag stops. It's going to be interesting to see how everything goes here.
Well, yeah, because the last time we didn't get through the full cycle before a caution came out, so we'll have to see if they can actually get that done this time around. And man, that caution, you said it, stage caution helped Landon Veliky because he just went from a lap down to 3rd over the course of the last 2 yellows. It'll be Baker and Sizemore. The field fills in behind them. We're ready to get it on. Stage 2 at Atlanta. Green flag is back in the air, and Matthew Baker's off towards turn 1. And man, this is a spread out restart. One of the more spread ones we've seen here at Atlanta. Bottom line's going to have most of the help. It seems like Landon Veliky got a really nice jump. He'll be 2nd by the time they exit the banking.
Yeah, a good jump indeed, and that causes separation. And when you get separations, that'll eventually close back up. That causes runs, and when you get runs, you get moves being made. Here we go. Veliky's going to look to the outside of Matthew Baker. Landon Veliky wants to lead for the first time here tonight. Can the 62 go to the point? No, he can't because he doesn't have any help out back. Steve Sizemore still trying to get a handle on that race car to get dialed in and back up to the back bumper of the 62. And they are still 2x2 as they cross the stripe that time. Officially, it's 40 of 100 laps complete. And out back, Dawson, you know, in the first stage, we saw some drivers taking it conservative. What do you do here? I mean, at tracks like Daytona, Talladega, we kind of say you can wait till the end before you got to get to the front. But, I mean, is it a little different here? Do you need to try to maintain that track position maybe more of the race than you would normally?
I'm going to say no, and here's why. Because at Daytona and Talladega, you'll see about 15 rows deep at the top and bottom. At Atlanta, there's a lot more real estate on the outside line where a lot more guys are going to run on the red line. If you want to go get 4 spots, you can go do it at any point in the race. Big block up front, Ethan Eckert, my goodness. He goes to the point and cuts right down across Matthew Baker's nose. But anyway, like right now, so for example, if you're back around Andrew Navarro, Kenny McCullough, Garrett Maines, back there, 8, 9, 10 rows deep in the field, there's a bit of real estate in front of you where if you want to go get 4 or 5 spots, drop back in line, rinse, repeat, get 5 more spots, drop back in line, you can do that. Whereas at Talladega, the track is clogged. You have to kind of stay up front. Track position's a lot harder to come by. At Atlanta, there's more real estate to go get it, as we've seen some guys do already. Logan York, Brock Westmoreland, Kenny McCullough, a couple others starting to come to the front, and that's what I mean. They're filling the real estate that's available to them.
Yeah, they certainly are. 42 of 100 laps now complete. Still 2x2 up front. Matthew Baker wants the lead back from Ethan Eckert as he's on the outside with Landon Velikian. I think that, I don't know if I want to call it the winning move, but I think the winning strategy here tonight at the end of this race, Dawson, is who can make that outside line work. And we really haven't seen too many groups that have been able to get lined up and be consistently fast up there. But that tandem right there of Matthew Baker and Veliky, they certainly looked strong as Merck and Eckert weren't quite able to hold them off. And now looks like Veliky might get a little bit more help here shortly as here comes the cavalry. Steve Sizemore took a look to the top. He'll drop back low, but it's Chris Carter and Christopher McCullough trying to get up to help that 62 car.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit more racy than I anticipated here on this first green flag run of the stage where you're just fighting for the first of 2 pit stops, and these guys are racing really hard up front. Now, as you go further back, that kind of weans off just a little bit when you get outside the top 10, back around Andrew Navarro, back around John Ward. It's tapered off. They're not racing quite as hard back there for 15th, 20th place, but up here, I mean, it's move after move after move, and these guys are just throwing it to the outside, going back to the inside, throwing it to the outside. It's like it's the last 10 laps. We still have 57 to go by my count, 56 here at the line. Really, really aggressive. And Landon Veliky's kind of the catalyst to that. He was the first to make a big move, and he's kind of forced the hand of a few others to do so as well.
Yes, he has, and they are still 2x2 towards the front of the field. Jeff Merck right now in very good position with his teammate Matthew Baker as they sit first and third. Coming up on the 11 of Dylan Jones to, I believe, put him a lap down. And as they do so, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the night. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing, and we'll be right back here at Atlanta.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3 by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
All right, welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway as we are 52 now over the halfway point, but 52 of 100 laps complete.
Oh, trouble. Brock Westerville and Chris Carter are going to wreck up in turn 1, and the caution flag will fly right as we came back. It was a 3-wide incident with Landon Velicki, and those two cars got out of shape and into the outside retaining wall.
Big damage on the 25 of Christopher Carter. He's immediately just going to tow it to the pits. He's not going to spend any time trying to get that damage repaired. By the way, quick update, we were supposed to have Matt Mettler joining us in the booth. I know that you guys had a chance to hear him recently, but unfortunately, we did not send him a league invite. Technical difficulties on our end, so Matt not able to see the race course, not really going to be able to help us commentate tonight, so apologize for that, but we will have him in the booth either hopefully next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, depending, and we'll get to see him more and more often here, as I believe we're going to be bringing him on to Thursdays as well. So just a quick update on that is now we go back and look at this wreck here, and this starts with contact, not between Christopher Carter and Brock Westmoreland, but looks like between Brock Westmoreland and Jonathan Herbert here, as we'll go to the chopper view first. And watch this. As they're getting down into turn 1, Westmoreland starts to come down, Herbert starts to come up, some contact occurs, and then as Brock gets up, Carter runs into the back of him, can't quite check up in time, then he hits the outside wall and hits his foot in lightly. I mean, he clobbers the outside wall. You see it rips the front end off, the hood goes loose, and then looks like even that right front suspension almost got torn off there, that right front wheel. And then, oh man, Justin Mills, it's almost one of those things, Dawson, where you commit to a lane and, you know, you just hope that either the car's not going to be there or that you can check up in time. And once he committed to the top, the 25 slid up. There was nowhere to go for Mills either.
Tough break for both guys there. Unfortunate that the contact happened in front of them. Westerville and Herbert come together because I think Brock's trying to dive in the middle. Landon Velicki had been out of line a couple times. He had no momentum going forward, so Brock tries to, I think, just dive in the middle and overcompensates a little. Gets into the side of Jonathan Herbert, and when he comes back up, nowhere for Carter to go. And that's one of the harder hits I've seen at Atlanta here, at least on the iRacing side. That is a big, big, big hit for the 25 car, and it was a night ender right from the get-go. You heard the engine expire when he hit the outside safer barrier, and unfortunately going to tow right to the pits and call it a night. So a tough break for the 25 and for the 4, as well as also Justin Mills coming in late.
Yeah, I think we had a couple others that spun around as part of this wreck, but the only two that sustained significant damage, it looked like, was, of course, Christopher Carter and Justin Mills, as everybody else was able to get back rolling, and looks like Mills was as well. But for Chris Carter, yeah, that is a night ender indeed. So as we do go back under caution and back up front here, Matthew Baker being scored as your leader, Jeff Merkin second, Ethan Eckert third, Garrett Maines back in fourth. And then you've got Matt Lee currently rounding out your top 5. That's one of the NASCAR eSports drivers. And 54 of 100 complete, Dawson. So I wouldn't say that the pay window's open yet or that we're down to crunch time just yet, but you figure we go back green here with somewhere over, I don't know, 3 to 4 laps over, 40 laps to go. We're starting to get closer to making this maybe a 1 to 2 stop on fuel versus a 3 or 4. And I wonder if that changes anything in terms of the aggression level. But what I don't think it's going to change is how much everybody's been struggling with handling so far in this race. I mean, we looked at the weather at the start of the race, and track temp is certainly not cooled down since then. In fact, it's actually went up a degree. So it's going to be interesting. If you remember back to Thursday at the end of that race and how much everybody was struggling on old tires, we haven't had a chance to get to that point yet, Dawson. But if we set this thing up to where that final run and we get to the end of the race and everybody's on old tires, it's going to be a fun one to watch all the way to the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. A 1 stop now on fuel. As these guys will pit sometime after lap 80, right around lap 80 is going to be the target lap now. That should put them well within range to go 1 stop and be good till the end of the night. We'll have to wait and see on that. Obviously, any more cautions as well is going to change that up. But If it runs as it is now, they're basically going to split this last run in half and then run the remainder of the race on that set of tires. And if that's the case, almost 30 laps on your tires. Fuel mileage may be playing a factor as well. And we could be in for a really interesting one if it stays green.
Indeed, we could. Lights are off, so again, we are going to be going green this time. By the way, if you're just tuning in, certainly appreciate you being here. Hope that you are having a good Tuesday night, at least here on the East Coast, maybe Tuesday evening if you're on the West Coast. We certainly appreciate everybody tuning in. All right, here we go. Pace car makes a left turn. Field back in the hands of Matthew Baker. He's been one of the most dominant cars of the night. And we'll see if he can continue it now. NBG with the front row restart. Green flag is back in the air, and it's a good restart from both of the teammates. Ethan Eckert's going to try to push Baker off into turn one as Garrett Maines tries to get back to bring Merck even. And they're going to stay that way. They're still tandem 2x2 through 1 and 2. Baker maybe wanted to take a look about sliding up. He's not going to be able to do it as they race onto the back. Does Merck have enough help to get clear, or can Baker jump back up?
Shades of 2011 tandem racing here at the front of the field. Which tandem gets the better run for now? Dead even. Goodness gracious, nobody with an advantage. Still door-to-door, these four cars at the front of the field. Sizemore, McCullough, York, Navarro, Kenny McCullough look on from all the way back to 9th position. Mike Davenport also inside the top 10. Some guys that could really use a win, but up front, some guys that are very used to victory lane here on Tuesday nights. The most of them, Matthew Baker in the 5 car. Looking for win number 2 this season. Garrett Maines looking for win number 2 this season as well. Everybody else trying to get in the victory column for the first time. Merck will nose out front. That's because they've got some more help coming. Energy gaining in that second line off turn number 4.
And this outside's starting to pinch the bottom, and that's what you got to do, obviously, if you want to make any progress up top. But at the same time, you can just tell the way they're sliding up in the corner, Dawson. They're chasing these cars. I mean, we always talk about how even at Daytona and Talladega, you got to kind of set the car into the corner. Well, here at Atlanta, it's a little bit trickier to do that, and you can see some drivers trying to play catch-up when they get into the corner, and it's not quite pointed down to that double yellow line like they'd like it to be. So it's certainly showing that it's been a struggle here tonight for a lot of guys, even the veterans. But Jeff Merck, he's been taking advantage here, continues to pinch this inside, keeps a steady wheel through the corner, and look at this. The 60 will go to the point with 59 laps complete.
Again, talked about it earlier, a 1.5 mile ace is Jeff Merck. Throttle control, tire saving, picking which line to run, picking which line helps the tires versus hurts the tires. That's one of Jeff Merck's areas of expertise, and tonight he's showing it right now. 59 laps in, and Merck goes back to the point. Remember back, he's finished in the top 3 here before between Tuesday nights and Thursday nights in this Xfinity Series car. He has run well before. He can do so again tonight. In fact, he is doing so right now. Will he transition top to bottom? He will. New leader in Atlanta, Jeff Merck.
Jeff Merck side by side, though. Here comes the one of Garrett Maines, Christopher McCullough, and Matthew Baker pushing in row 2, Eckert, Navarro in row 3. And how about Navarro after hitting the wall earlier? He's made quite the comeback here. The 44 certainly doesn't look like there was ever a mistake made on that car as it's cleaned up. And now he is back to where he likes to be at just about the entire race, and that is near the front. Jonathan Herbert, the 87, what a run he's having here tonight for Hyper Motorsports. We've already seen some glimpses of how much better he continues to get with each and every race throughout this season. And for Jonathan Herbert, Dawson, how big would not just a podium here tonight be, but really any sort of payout position as a driver? I can tell you, it only takes one to kind of spark that fire, get the momentum going, but Herbert's got to be careful because you just saw right behind him there, Logan York. Looked like he was maybe taking a peek at 3 wide. He's already up 13 positions from where he started this race at, and he wants more.
Yeah, for Herbert, obviously a win would do a big number because, you know, for me, when I got back a couple years ago, or last year, excuse me, it took me a few months. I raced and couldn't get to victory lane, and the first time I did, it kind of sparked this several race streak where I kind of won, you know, once a week, twice a week, every week for about, you know, a month. That's the kind of streak you can go on. The first one is the toughest to get, and for Herbert, it's steady improvement. He's putting himself in position, and tonight, he's in a really good spot. This is a really good spot to be in. You're not burning too much of your stuff up running 4th in line. Now, having to defend Logan York, you have to do a little bit more. But the 87, he's itching to get to victory lane, and it's coming. It's coming in a matter of time. Tonight may be the night. Now, for Logan York, he's itching to get back to the front because he's been gone for a while. An extended break. The O2 is back, and he is more aggressive than ever. Logan York is back in the field. He's trying to get to victory lane as well. Former winner in this series.
Indeed, and you know, mentioning about how you said, Dawson, with that flip, that switch kind of getting flipped. A guy who I think still has one of the best quotes in money racing is Ken McCullough Jr., and he says this kind of stuff comes in waves. When it comes in the bad waves, it's not fun, but boy, when you start getting the good finishes and the momentum and the good wave, if you will, that is what makes money racing loved by so many. And so Ken McCullough Jr. right now, maybe it's a turn of luck for him as he currently sits in 10th. He's up 21 positions from where he started this race at. And McCullough Motorsports, if you look back to the race just last week where Joe Herta got the job done, I actually heard this week, Dawson, that Christopher McCullough was not happy with himself for making that move. Him and Josh getting collected. That was two teammates who were guaranteed a good finish, but instead ended up with a little bit more of a disastrous ending after being in such a good position the last lap. So not only Ken, but Christopher McCullough, Joshua McCullough, and a couple of the other McCullough Motorsports teammates such as Mark Vondell, they're trying to get it together. It's been kind of a bad luck sort of season, and they're going to see if they can change things around here before we get too far into it.
Well, Chris and Kenny doing a good job of that right now. Chris runs 5th, Kenny runs 9th. Josh is starting to lurk as well. He runs 15th, and he's kind of bringing himself slowly into the picture. He's back in there behind John Ward, and he's slowly but surely starting to drive his way forward to put himself in a good position. So all three of those cars very soon could be running very well. Now, a pit stop still remains, probably about 15 laps or so from right now, that we await as the final potential pit stop of the night. One car has to bail off the racetrack. That is Evan Carlbon in the 71, but nonetheless, so these guys now, for a minute there, a few laps ago, it looked like the pushing got a little too aggressive. I think they've sorted it out enough now. They're just trying to ride. Oh, man, Logan York's throwing blocks back there around 10th position, and that should not come as a surprise. Logan York is finally back, and he is not treating it lightly tonight.
No, he isn't. Yeah, you're right. Shouldn't be a surprise for Logan York. He's going to kind of reminds me of Ryan Newman in the sense of he'll race for every position. He doesn't care where it is. Even if he's going a lap down, he's going to tell you, you can race me for it. That's why we're all out here. But looking up front, Dawson, I think the reason we're seeing this is because really besides the start of the race, this is the first chance that everybody's had to kind of get into a rhythm and click off some laps. Now, as the tires continue to wear out, that rhythm's going to start to get broken up as we might start to see a few more moves get made. But as for now, the teams that are dominating this race up front, NBG, and then Hyper Motorsports, which has, looks like 3 of their cars inside the top 10, and then McCullough Motorsports, which also has multiple of their cars inside the top 10 with 68 laps complete. We're getting ready to hit 32 to go as they cross the line this next time, and once you get to 25 to go, that's when it starts to become crunch time. But Dawson, I thought I remember you mentioning that they're going to try to maybe split this thing up as, man, that was a big moment up front as they're going to go around Cody Nagels here to put him a lap down. But speaking of fuel strategy, Dawson, do you still think that they can make it on just one stop?
I still think so. I think we went back green with basically just outside of 45 to go, and that would put us within the window. The window we established earlier was about 25 laps or so. A couple guys went a little bit further than that. So if you can go that distance again, you'll easily be able to make that window. Oh, man, Chris McCullough. Wow, what a save. He's still trying to save it. He will get a hold of it. Big save there by McCullough, and it's going to kind of ease this pack up front a little bit more. Well, never mind. Shouldn't have even said that. Navarro looking topside. Eckert looking topside. For the back, here comes Jonathan Herbert in the 87 again, and now he's got a couple teammates in tow.
Yeah, I was wondering if Sizemore would maybe jump up here. He's debating it, but he's going to stay low for now as they're back to 2x2 up front. Inside has the advantage, though, with that extra car. Not for long, though. Merck jumps back to the high side here. That'll allow Baker to cool off a little bit, but Merck's going to get split. 60's going to have to go back low. You can tell Garrett Maines wanted no part of pushing Jeff Merck up top as he tried to get to the outside. Merck quickly had dropped back down to the bottom, and now Garrett's going to have to try to do a little bit of pinching or side drafting, if you will, on this 60 through the turn and see if he can get a run down the back. And man, if you need a guy pushing you at this track, Dawson, I think my pick is going to be Andrew Navarro. I mean, he is just about every car he's been behind, whether it's been just him or him and some other people behind. He has been able to push. Oh, trouble up back.
Herbert.
That's a big hit to the outside wall. Oh, he's sliding down. Can everybody else miss it? Looks like they do, but Jonathan Herbert is all torn up. '87 is going to get back rolling here down the front stretch with major damage. And, well, I hate to say it, Dawson, but it seems like second week where we've tried to talk about how great this 87's doing and just about on cue. And now, what you see the suspension damage, he took a big hit, so that's not too surprising there. And unfortunately, it looks like he's going to collect at least one of his teammates here, and then Ken McCullough Jr. as for the 87 here, I think it's just going to be a classic case of Atlanta on old tires here, and he's just going to get out of shape, get a little loose, Yes, he does. Car just starts to come out on him, and he's trying to catch it here, Dawson, but instead of overcorrecting, he just starts to slide down the banking. Ken McCullough Jr. nowhere to go. John Ward as well, and then Christopher McCullough also runs into the back of the 92. Big hit on the outside wall for Ken McCullough Jr., and then now it's everybody just trying to slide through here, and looks like most of them do. Maybe a little bit of bumper tag out back, but nothing major, at least not the way the 87 got hit at the start of that wreck, and so I think for this one at least, looks like Herbert and Ken McCullough Jr. got the worst of it.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure, looking back, that Jonathan Herbert got that much damage. It's certainly not as bad as Trevor Oswald earlier. That had a lot of damage on the 89 machine. Herbert may have gotten away from this pretty lucky, all things considered, with all the cars coming towards him. He may have gotten away decently okay. That right front worries me a little bit, but other than that, he gets hit in the door number. That's not that big a deal. It's not that much damage. The right front hit's going to be the determining factor. Let's see how long he sits on pit road, but I mean, cosmetically, the car looks pretty okay to me still.
Yeah, I would have to agree looking back at it. That was not his bumper cover, and I think that's what kept throwing me off. I thought that was the 87's rear bumper cover that flew off, but it was not. It was one of the other cars involved in this incident. As we'll get another look or two at this one here. First one, let's hop on board with Ken McCullough Jr., and you're going to see how just kind of has nowhere to go on this. I mean, he can't just magically yank the wheel to the left or to the right here without wrecking, and he tries to check up a little bit. I think what hurts Ken was that second hit on the outside wall, and yeah, it bends that suspension. That's a really tough break, and then oh, didn't see that second hit there for Ken McCullough Jr. That was similar to Michael Triscaro, where once that suspension is broken, he just can't turn, and as you get into that quad oval, you see he makes that secondary impact with the outside wall that leads to even more damage. And so, again, Dawson, this is one of those wrecks where it seems like all the drivers that took out were guys that were having really good nights, that needed to have good nights, but unfortunately, it's going to end a couple chances here, I think. Realistically, Ken McCullough Jr., of course, getting the worst of it after a couple second looks at it, but even Jonathan Herbert here, he's going to lose a bunch of track position. But as we go back up front for this restart here, it's going to be 26 to go. Now this becomes interesting, Dawson, because maybe it does become fuel saving now. We're close to that window to making it. If you can make it, I think you got to try to save it. But if you can't, then we could still see a lot of aggression here and potentially another caution before this race is all said and done.
A lot of guys came down to top off on fuel right there as well. Looking to see who all did make that decision. Looks like everybody from Mike Davenport on back made the second trip to pit road and has decided to top off the fuel tank, and that could very well be the one lap you need to make it all the way to the end. The window, I said 25. A couple guys were stretching to try 26. We're going to be almost right on that number. You are really close to being able to potentially make this. We're in for a fuel mileage finish now. These guys in the front have to realize they can't burn too much fuel here on this restart, or they'll be out on an island while the guys running 15th on back may win this race.
It's going to be interesting indeed. All right, here we go. Pace car going to make the left turn back down to the pits. It'll be, again, 26 laps to go here at Atlanta. Who's going to get the win tonight? It's one of those races, one of the special ones on the schedule, because you only head here maybe once, maybe twice. Got to take advantage. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. Andrew Navarro off to a great restart with a push from Logan York. But on the outside, Garrett Maines and Eckert, they were able to tandem up right as the flag flew. And now here comes the 12, trying to fight back on the outside. Merck and Baker in tow on the inside. Christopher McCullough, after being involved in that last wreck, has already got himself back up here with the leaders. And he is going to be the third car that helps keep this outside line even as they work off into turn 3.
Weird 9-car breakaway here at the front, and then about an 0.8 of a second gap back to Jared Haynes, Sean Ward, and company. So these top 9 for an hour away for a moment, but not for very long. Now, an interesting thing that I've noticed all race, and it just came back again. The bottom line, when they come off turn 4, and I'll point it out again, when we come off turn 4 again, they're tapping the left sides on the apron. Now, you can't go down there to pass. There's nothing saying you can't tap the left sides down there. The problem is, when it really kind of bottoms out the car, it's a weird look. I'll show you again here. Oh, man, split up front. McCullough wanted 3 wide, couldn't get it. Hooks the left back in line. He's going to come to the front. So is Matt Lee, the 0-4. Now, watch that bottom line. Navarro does it right there. He got a slaps the left side tires on the apron. I'm not sure what that does other than upset the car. I mean, maybe it's just a shorter way around the racetrack, but it seems a little impractical to me, and it gets that car wicked out of shape. It's done it all night, and it's just a matter of time before that backfires.
I think the reason that they do that, Dawson, is a general idea of trying to give a little bit more room because, I mean, I know we both had the chance to race here, and I know it's different for every driver, but in general, that quad oval, it's kind of awkward, right? The way you have to work through it. You don't just turn right as you get there. You kind of have to turn the car the entire way through the quad oval, and it has a tendency to shoot up pretty quickly as you get through the entry and the exit of that quad oval. So some drivers will dip the left sides down just below just to kind of give a little bit more space to that top lane and make their line a little bit more consistent so that the guy behind can have an easier job of trying to push. That'd be my best guess, at least. Otherwise, yeah, I have to agree. I mean, you can't pass down there, so certainly wouldn't be utilized for really much else. But how about this? Christopher McCullough, I mean, he looks like he wants this race more than he's won in quite a while. The 94, after just getting involved in an incident that would send most people to the back, has got him fired up as he now runs side by side for the lead here with Garrett Maines. And he'll stay on the outside here with help from Matthew Baker. Now Jeff Merck's going to jump to the top, and that'll give the advantage back to the high side.
And just not a ton of cars that were up there at first. Now they're starting to gain a bit more of a cavalry. Oh, it's contact 04 and 94 there as they got together going into 3 just inadvertently. Everybody holds on to it, and we keep going. Ethan Eckert's very indecisive. He doesn't know if he wants to go up there or not, and because he's backed out, it's allowed that top lane to really surge. And Chris McCullough to lead by a nose into 1. Baker will back off, and Maines will re-inherit the lead. Eckert, York, Sizemore, Haynes, Navarro. These guys are all starting to get in line. I almost wonder if they're about to short pit this. They're either going to short pit or they're all saving gas here with 21 laps to go. I'm not sure which it is. It might just be the latter. These guys realize now they're very close to the number on fuel.
We got one almost going around out back. Steve Sizemore still trying to gather that car back up. Does he save it? Yes, he does. The 8 car holds on after a near spin over in turn 3 and 4. And he'll get back up to speed, but not without losing the pack. As, by the way, you see there on your scoring tower on the left just how many cars have dropped out of this race due to either damage or other issues. And in fact, as it stands right now, we've only got 18 on the lead lap. And so that's certainly helping the chances of anybody that is on the lead lap with cashing out here tonight. And as we're going to be hitting 19 to go, still expecting that pit stop. Big question is, of course, when. I think it could be just about, or excuse me, not expecting that pit stop. I meant to say the question is who saves enough fuel to make it to the finish. And we're going to go ahead and take one more quick break, and then we will be here all the way to the finish. Stick with us as we go side by side at Atlanta.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3 by 3.
Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. 13 laps to go to crown a winner here tonight in week 5 of season 5 for Tuesday Night Thunder. They are still 2x2 and going at it up front, but you can tell the handling is starting to get worse for wear as they drift further and further up the track. Dawson, it's kind of interesting because, when we get to start with fresh tires, the bottom's glued to the apron and the top lane's glued, sticking to the bottom's door, but now as the tires have started to wear out, you notice that through the middle of the corner, the bottom washes up a little bit, the top washes up a little bit, and it's just becoming a battle of who can hold on to their race car.
Well, yeah, and also, along with that, they're trying to get everything out of it as well. You see Matthew Baker, I think, is the best example of this. He's trying everything he can to stay as glued to Matt Lee as he can. The problem is it's dragging him up the racetrack, so he doesn't really have the tire for that anymore. They've been running so hard for so long that he just doesn't have the Goodyears for it anymore, and he's still trying, and it's washing him up. He's gotten a little bit better here over the past few laps. He's been able to manage it a little bit better. But you see the car start to plow right in the middle of the corner, and he starts to wash up into Garrett Maines and Chris McCullough. And now Matt Lee. I mean, you got to think about moving up here, I think, for the 0-4 because he almost got trapped. He's trying not to get stuck.
Oh, man. He's sorry to cut you off, Dawson. Ethan Eckert, boy, he slid up the racetrack, and I thought that was getting ready to be another caution. He holds on, and you can't sorry to cut you off, Dawson, but boy, that caught my eye here as we're looking at the blimp cam, and man, that was another close call to being another caution within 10 to go.
Matthew Baker to the outside. He actually jumps around Matt Lee, so instead of Matt Lee jumping up, it's Baker that jumps up. He'll look for the lead on the bumper of Garrett Maines. John Ward and Jared Haynes have been shot out of a cannon here with 10 laps to go. They were just waiting back around 15th position. They just waited, bided their time, hung around, and now we're starting to pounce. Mike Davenport coming forward. Landon Velicky coming forward. Dylan Jones coming forward. Guys that were not at the front of the field earlier are starting to make their way to the front because they've saved tire, they've saved some gas, and they saved their race car for this moment right here with a lot of real estate to pick up. Why not? Why not? If you're the 7, if you're the 55, the 92, the 62, the 02 for the back Logan York, the 11 of Dylan Jones, why not? You saved enough. 9 laps to go. It's crunch time. You got to go to the front. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Everybody was in fuel conservation mode back there, but now it's time to crank it up. The problem is, with as aggressive as they're being up front, I don't know if these guys have the speed to necessarily catch up with just 8 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see. And at some point, if you're not up here in the top 10, you got to make a decision. Either stay back and hope they wreck or get up front and go for it. But right now, 2x2, and it's a gridlock just about throughout the top 10. Will anybody try that third lane? That's the big question. Matthew Baker still looking to return back to victory lane again this season. Matt Lee is looking to find his first win of the season. He currently sits on the bottom. And Christopher McCullough, John Ward, 2 drivers that are looking to have a great run here tonight. They find themselves in good position here with just 7 laps to go. And Dawson, as this thing continues to get down to the nitty-gritty, do we see drivers like Mike Davenport, Jared Haynes, Landon Velicky? Do they try to be the group that gets that third lane going?
I mean, you don't really have much of a choice. You're kind of gridlocked right now, like you said. You have to pick somewhere here to make it different, to shuffle things, and to make a move and go for the win. I think they've got better tires than the leaders just because they haven't been racing as hard. They haven't been pushing their equipment as hard, but can they make the move? Do they have the help? Do they have the skill? Garrett Maines trying to split. The leaders are going to wreck. Garrett Maines into the outside wall. They're going to wreck further back as well.
Christopher McCullough's in it. Oh, he gets tagged by Andrew Navarro. Ethan Eckert's in it. Are they still wrecking up front here? No, it looks like they all straight it out. It'll stay confined further back here to Christopher McCullough, Ethan Eckert, and maybe a few others. And you almost saw that one coming, Dawson. It's just, the aggression was just getting way too much up front. You knew something was going to have to give here eventually, and it did. And it starts right around Garrett Maines, Matt Lee, and Matthew Baker here. I wonder if Garrett went for a split here on Baker. Let's go ahead and find out as we go back to the chopper view. And as they work in the quad oval, that's what he does, Dawson. He tries to split the 5. And you know what? I'm going to let you go ahead and analyze this first because I know we're not supposed to have opinions up here. So you know what, Dawson? You go ahead and you start this one off for us.
Well, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Baker drifts a little bit high, I guess, going into one. I mean, it's a pretty typical driving line for 95% of the race. Now, I will say this, 5 laps to go, the standards change a little bit, I think. Your margin for error goes down. Your patience starts to get a little bit thin, especially considering that, Garrett was going to be stuck. I mean, there was going to be much he could do. That may very well have been his best opportunity. And the move, in my opinion, it works. It's there, and he gets to the middle, and there's plenty of space. And as they go into one, the track tightens up, a mix of that, and Baker tries to throw a block. That doesn't work, and a number of factors right there. And I know there's going to be those that say, well, Garrett probably should have stayed in line and just ran, maybe go to the top side. Well, he may not have gotten that opportunity. That's going to be my defense of that move, is that you may not have gotten another chance like that one, where you could go to the middle, make a split. It's always going to be faster to go to the inside of a car than it is to the outside at Atlanta. That's the only thing I can think there, but man, it caught a couple guys in the crossfire.
Yeah, it certainly did, and I think I agree with just about everything you said, Dawson. The only thing here for Garrett is I'm sure Matthew Baker is not going to be too much of a fan or a teammate anymore here, as he's thinking to himself, well, Garrett's behind me here. We're just trying to run here for a good finish, and Garrett says, no, I don't think so. You leave that middle open here, as you said, with just 5 to go. I'm taking it. And it was there. Baker tried to cover, just fortunately he was a little bit late on it, and so as a result it causes that wreck. But the bad side of this, which I hate to say it, Dawson, but boy, doesn't it seem like it always ends up this way, where the kind of where the wreck starts, everybody gets away, and then it's always the innocent bystanders who get the worst of it. Here is Christopher McCullough and Ethan Eckert, who were kind of minding their P's and Q's there, are the two drivers, and actually Navarro as well, as he piled into Christopher McCullough, who ended up getting the worst end of it.
Yeah, the toughest break there is the innocent bystanders. I mean, I thought maybe they were just going to all bounce off each other and be okay, but then Garrett ends up in the outside wall, and then it's on from there. Now, also I will say this, it's a move that 90% of drivers probably wouldn't make, and I'm not digging at anybody by saying that. I'm saying that because we see that out of Garrett a lot. That's a move that he likes to make. It's a move he's made here before in a Tuesday Night Thunder race. He's done that before numerous times, and it either works or it doesn't. That time it didn't, and as such, well, he's still running 8th, but I'm gonna really be questioning how well that car runs, because he's got a serious dent on the right front of that race car. He's got some right rear damage as well. I question how fast that car is, because he pancaked the outside wall. I'm not sure he'll be fully up to speed, but he's gonna lay it on the line. He's gonna lay it on the line because there's only 2 laps to go. Yeah,
it was a pretty hard hit. We'll have to see how well that car performs. Meanwhile, back up front, Matthew Baker, again, we talked about it, got away unscathed from that one, so he is still on the front row as he will help lead this restart alongside Matt Lee in the 04. And then row 2, Jeff Merck and John Ward. Row 3 is Landon Velicki and Jared Haynes. And it'll be a 2-lap shootout, and I believe this is actually going to be our first green-white checkered attempt. Got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official, so we're going to have to make it at least 1.5 miles here before this race will again be deemed official. And Jeff Merck here with Matt Lee in front. I feel like he's kind of trapped, but who knows? Maybe Garrett opened the door for some other drivers to think about making that move here, Dawson. Most tracks we see guys try to go to the outside, but here at Atlanta, maybe a little bit different. Who knows? Will we see the third lane try to get on the outside, or maybe try to split the middle?
I mean, you're going to have to if you're third row on back. I don't think you have a chance to win this race. If you're coming from basically 3-4 rows, you're not going to be able to work your way up through the field without trying the third lane. You got to do it, and you got to do it quickly. Matt Lee, Matt Baker on the front row. Green flag is back in the air 2 more times around Atlanta. Lee with an incredible race start. I imagine he'll go bottom to top here into 1 and jump on the bumper of Baker. He will not. He will stay on the bottom side. He'll wait for the run to come back, but it's going to come to him too quickly, and Baker's going to get to his outside, and they're wrecking out back.
Steve Sizemore, multiple others. Oh, man, huge hit again for Ethan Eckert. Dylan Jones got massive damage from that. Steve Sizemore, who we saw as the first car sideways. So it looks like we will be heading into our second overtime attempt. Boy, this 8 car is destroyed. Man, no deck lid, no bumper. This is now our 6th caution here tonight. Let's go back and take a look at it here. This is going into turn 1, and again, this is one of those ones that can be kind of frustrating for drivers, as really you're not even up to speed yet. I don't even know if they're into 4th gear yet, and they're already wrecking here, but looks like it's going to be exactly kind of what you said, guys, we're going to have to do, Dawson, which was take it 3 wide to get to the front. As watch Ethan Eckert here. He's on the outside, and he's going to try to drop to the middle here. Steve Sizemore. Do they just run each other out of room here, getting into 1? Looks like Mark Vondell is hugging the bottom. He can't go any lower, and some contact between him and Eckert. And then Sizemore is squeezing him down as well. They just a situation where they all run each other out of room, going 3 wide, and nobody wants to give at this point in the race. But I think in that case, Mark Vondel, of course, the innocent victim, and then 12 of Eckert and Steve Sizemore, the two going at it, trying to fight for that same piece of real estate. Ultimately, it doesn't work out for any of them.
Yeah, this is kind of similar to the wreck we just had, where it's almost an identical move. And look, it's not like being in a real race car where you can kind of see out your peripheral, when you can kind of lean your head and see that guy to your left. Most of us, I'm not saying all of us, there's quite a few that run on a little bit more expansive setups where you have a left side screen, if you will, where you can look out your left side window without having to, hit a button, without having to move your driver's head per se. But most of us don't. Most of us have just a single screen, and that's a blind spot. And for Steve Sizemore, I'm willing to bet that was a blind spot moment where he can't see Ethan Eckert. He only thinks he's too wide. He only thinks there's one car there, and he turns in the corner thinking he's too wide. No fault of his. Just for most of us, that's a blind spot that you can't see. They run each other out of room. Big damage on several cars. Dylan Jones, man, innocent bystander there. He had this missed, and Eckert comes all the way down the track off the safer barrier and gets him. Another tough one, another head scratcher where a guy splits middle, and the guy up top just wasn't ready for it.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, Dawson, Ethan's in the chat. He's letting us know it's not on him, so no further analysis needed. He let us know that is not on him. It's on Steve Sizemore since they were 3 wide, so we appreciate the analysis on that, Ethan. Nonetheless, as we go back up front, lights are still on the pace car as Matt Lee is being scored as your leader. Jeff Merckx second, Matthew Baker in third, John Ward fourth, and Jared Haynes currently rounding out your top 5. All right, going to take another quick break. Hopefully when we come back, we can get this one wrapped up. Stick with us here at Atlanta.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was really awesome.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and one thing that developed over break right there is the fact that these guys may be a whole lot closer on fuel than we initially thought. As we go into our second green-white checkered right here, Dawson, what do you got for fuel mileage?
I mean, they're on lap 29 at this point of fuel. They're pushing it, and now, if you'll remember back to the NASCAR Cup Series at Nashville, how hectic some of those restarts were, somebody may sputter here by the time we get into turn 1. I mean, 30 laps is really pushing the issue on 40% fuel. Can these guys make it 3 miles? I just don't know, and that's going to make this restart real interesting.
And remember, they don't have the switch that gives you an extra lap once you hit 0. When you hit 0 in these cars, that's it. You start to sputter, and yeah, you said it. If you're in the middle of the pack, that could end very, very poorly. All right, here we go. Getting ready to find out. 2 laps to go. Green flag is back in the air at Atlanta. It's a good restart for both cars on the front row, but it's the outside this time that gets more momentum as Jeff Merckx will win the race off towards turn number 1. And they're still 2x2 out back 3 wide. They're going to do the same thing.
Here we go again.
They're going to do the same exact thing.
They're wrecking.
Get a car.
Oh, my goodness. You can't write this.
Oh, man.
It's the same incident. 3 cautions in a row.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's going to be the end of the fuel discussion because there's nobody's going to be able to make it now unless you're one of the guys that pit on the last caution, the last few cautions, but leaders back to about 9th, 10th, 11th place. Field discussion's over, and their hopes to win the race may be over with that.
Well, we didn't learn the lesson from the last time because we tried it again, so let's go back and see. Well, I guess I should say let's see how it happens, but I think we know how it happens. Nonetheless, though, here we go. As they cross the line, Logan York gets a little bit of a run and then takes it 3 wide. As they get into the corner, they just run each other out of room. York starts ping-ponging around, and eventually They all go around. Now, I guess for what it's worth, Dawson, at least with this one here, the 3 wide was established for quite a bit longer. I mean, Logan is there right as they're coming out of the, the quad oval, but I think it's still one of those things where I'm not sure if Josh just doesn't see him or if thinks they're too wide or whatever the deal is, but they run each other out of room. Big hit for Richard Elliott, as I believe Joshua McCullough and Logan York escape relatively unscathed, and then right at the end there, man, Ken McCullough Jr. just an innocent victim, as you saw he got tagged right at the end of it. But for Richard Elliott, this is going to be a day-ender after surviving all the way just about to the finish. He gets involved in this wreck.
Yeah, what a tough break. I can't get over the fact that we just saw the same wreck essentially three times in a row. I mean, that's insane to me. It's literally a carbon copy. Garrett Maines does it with 5 laps to go, and then Ethan Eckert does it with 2 laps to go, and now Logan York does it with 2 laps to go. And we're going to try this again. The leaders are on pit road. Garrett Maines, Jeff Merck, Matthew Baker, Matt Lee, John Ward, Mark Vondell, and everybody else that was running up front. The exceptions, Landon Velicki and Jared Haynes, are going to risk it. They're going to try to save, and that's what a win in this series means. That's the stakes on the line for the guys that have stayed out. Now, Logan York, maybe Mike Davenport, Brock Westmoreland, Chris McCullough, Trevor Osborne's back in the race now as well, back in 7th. Those guys are good. I'm pretty sure those guys have all come to pit road. Not sure about Haynes, not sure about Velicki. Both those cars have to be, they're going to be on fumes when they come off turn 4. Again, another interesting restart of coming, because now the guys that have led all the laps, 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, on back. Now they're the ones that are going to have to go on the offensive.
And I was sitting there looking. In fact, you might have just saw on the broadcast screen there that I pulled up the iRacing. I was trying to figure out if this was, I had thought for sure this was going to be our final green-white checker, but it looks like scoring's actually showing it to be the second of 3 green-white checkered. So if that is the case, that adds kind of more stress to the fuel strategy, because what I was getting ready to say is, if this is the last one, there might be some guys that are close enough to where they say, heck, we did it 3 times. Why don't we wreck the same way a 4th time and just stay out, hope to get that caution and save to make it to the checkered? Because again, if we get a caution on that last green-white checker, that's it. Race is over. We're done. The race will end under caution, but I don't think we're going to end up having it end that way. So for Velicki and Jared Haynes, this is a big opportunity. That's 2 of the OSM drivers on the front row. And guess who? Logan York. We talked about how much this would mean if he could get a win in his first race back. Well, he's going to line up on row 2 alongside Mike Davenport.
Yeah, big opportunity. Similar to, if you watch the NASCAR Cup Series race at Darlington on Sunday night, when all the leaders started to come to pit road, one car dove off and decided, nope, this is my opportunity. Ross Chastain, he stayed out, he took the lead. It's similar here. You have to win if you're one of these guys. Not have to necessarily like Ross Chastain did, but this is your best chance. You see all the leaders coming to pit road in front of you. What do you have to lose? You win the race, you're in the playoffs. If not, you finish maybe 10th, 12th, 13th, 14th if you run out of gas, and you're just right back where you were before. You have to lay it on the line to get a victory. And they've got some pit cars between themselves and the former leaders now. For these 2 cars, really all these top 6, a massive opportunity here to get a big season-changing victory here tonight, including Logan York. By the way, his first race back here on the money racing scene, and he runs 4th on the last restart. You know it's going to get interesting when he's up front.
Yes, it is. And David Flanagan saying Landon is not OSM, so apologize if we had that mistaken. I could have swore the 62 was, but again, we don't actually, these guys don't tell us their teams. We try to get a pretty good idea, but again, apologize if I got him mixed up. I know Jared Haynes is one of the OSM drivers. And so here we go. 2-lap shootout, back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. And it's a good restart for both cars on the front row. But yet again, similar to the last one, look at where the momentum is on the outside for Jared Haynes. Still looking for his first win. Could tonight be the night? Further back, they're trying to go 3 wide again into 1. Doesn't work this time. Looks like it does. Everybody holds it together here. We're going to make it off at turn 2, side by side up front for the lead.
Remember back as well to Landon Velicki's opportunity to win at Talladega. He went 3 wide and got about 100 feet short of his first victory. York to the outside. He looks 3 wide with Baker. Almost trouble. They're going to wreck behind the leaders. Westmoreland, Lee, and several of the front-running cars. The big one strikes 1,000 feet before the line. And Velicki and Haynes' hopes might have just gone up in smoke.
Yeah, it's a tough break, man. That was 2 of the underdog picks for tonight that had great opportunity right here at the end, but another incident which has now made it 8 cautions. I don't even think we had a handful for just about this entire race, and then here at the end, things have kind of fallen off for went off the rails, if you will, is Garrett Maines. Heavy damage. You see that left front wobbling around. That is not good. As you can see, that's going to probably end his night with that damage. John Ward's torn up. Matt Lee. I mean, you said it, Dawson. This was the big one. It collected quite a few. And it all started with 3 wide again. This is not quite the same way the last few wrecks have been, as this was more of an established 3 wide. Christopher McCullough, though, pretty significant damage on that car. Part of me wonders if that played any sort of factor in him getting out of shape here. As watch this, he's right in the middle, and I don't believe there's any contact here. I think the 94 is just going to get loose. By the way, you see Matthew Baker and Logan York doing a little pushing in the corner. That's quite adventurous, but they make it work. That's not what starts the wreck. It's just about a row behind here with the 94. And let's go to the chopper view for this. Watch Christopher McCullough here in the middle. Starts to slide up. I almost wonder, Dawson, if there wasn't maybe just a little bit of netcode off the left rear. Matthew Baker, as his car slightly drifts down. It's hard to say if there's a little bit of netcode or if Christopher McCullough just gets loose. Either way, once the 94 starts to get sideways, he gets ran into in the back by Garrett Maines. But at the same time as that was happening, you saw Brock Westerlund with his own issue here of he's riding by himself, not getting pushed, and he just gets loose. And so either way, whether Chris saves it or not, which I think he does, that wreck still happens with Brock Westerlund getting out of shape, going around, and then the drivers that get collected, and they're on out. The rest is history.
Yeah, tough break there. Also, it looked like McCullough started to get out of shape. Brock Westerlund at the same time. They kind of synchronized spun, and when that happens that close to the front of the field and they're running 3 wide, there's not much anybody can do, and it collects a number of cars. Now, interestingly, up front, these damaged cars have stayed on the racetrack. Matt Lee stays out. He's got tremendous damage to his 04. Garrett Maines, I think, is actually now finally going to bail to pit road. So maybe he won't stay on the racetrack. Nope, he will. John Ward is destroyed. He's going to stay on the racetrack.
You know why this
Mark
is?
Vondell, I mean, this is, okay, this is a little bit much. I understand wanting track position, but man, that's a little bit much for guys like Maines, Lee, and Ward. They are destroyed, and they're running 4th, 5th, 6th.
Well, I would have to agree, Dawson, but, you know, with what we've seen here tonight, I'm not even surprised at this point. So we'll have to see what happens. This is the official last green-white checkered, so if they wreck here, and this is my assumption as to why they're staying out, is if they wreck here, it's over. So if these guys all pile it up going into turn 1, and Matt Lee, John Ward, in their case, if they're still top 5, well, then they stay there, and we finish this thing under caution. They don't have to worry about how fast the cars are, as long as they can make it back to the checkered without a meatball. So I understand the strategy play there, but for the guys out back, I mean, this is going to be like dodging moving barricades to try to get around without any damage. And, I mean, just, well, it looks like maybe now they're going to back off. I wonder if a couple of them maybe got an EOL. I'm not sure here, but either way, looking at some of the undamaged cars up front here, Dawson, you've got Logan York leading the way. On his outside, it's the 5 of Matthew Baker. Jeff Merck is there. And then the next undamaged car, relatively undamaged, I guess I should say, looks to be the 59 of Mark Vondell, who has certainly got his fair share of damage this race, but overall, the 59 looking pretty clean right now. And then Landon Velicky just behind him also looks to be in pretty good shape as we get ready to go back green right here.
And I want to know what Trevor Osmond's thinking in position number 8 right now, because he's behind 2 of those really damaged race cars. I don't know how you handle this if you're Osmond, because he's clean. I don't know. We're going to find out. Bottom lane, I imagine, it's going to be the place to be. Coming back to the green flag. Again, we'll try it. If we wreck, the race is over. Green flag is back in the air, and off they go. And look at how slow and jump the 04, the 92 get. Look at Merck. Jeff Merck, big move. Oh, my goodness. Logan York blocks, and the NBG teammates go low. Oh, man, Logan's leaning on his door. They're asking to wreck as they come off turn 2. Somehow they don't. And now my attention goes back around Trevor Osbornoff, because he's going to have a monster run coming to the front of the pack. Osbornoff, Velicky, they may get a look at this as the field approaches the white flag.
Yeah, he's leading the charge, but they're going to need a little bit more time here. York jumping up might be all they need. The 2 NBG teammates lead out of turn 4 to take the white flag. 1 lap to go at Atlanta.
Oh, he got booted. Logan York just got booted. Osbornoff wants it worse than he does. Are they going to have enough time? I don't know if they have the time. Velicky's trying everything he can. They're going to get so close as they approach 3. Osbornoff may get a look. It's going to be so close. Can they get enough of a push?
Oh, man, you're right, Dawson. This is going to come right down to the checkered. Baker might throw a block. He got loose. He got loose. Now Merck's going to block. 60 goes up to block. Trevor says no, thank you. Turns him around. Here they come to the checkered. Matthew Baker holds on, and it's a photo photo finish for second. Trevor Oswanoff takes second. Landon Veliky holds on to third.
Jeff Merck, oh man, as they junk each other in turn one. Jeff Merck just threw the winning block for his teammate Matthew Baker. Now it ruined his race, but he threw the winning block that allowed his, oh my goodness.
He's not liking this on the driver cam, getting told after. We saw the reaction here.
Oh my goodness.
It's just been one of those nights. I mean, you know, jeez. I mean, I don't even know where to start, but you're right, Dawson. Merck threw that winning block for Matthew Baker right there, and I almost feel a little bit bad for Trevor, but at the same time, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It's coming to the checker. Maybe Merck was looking for a run. Baker blocked. I'm not sure. We'll go back and take one look at it here, as we're not going to get a burnout with the 5 being totaled now, but let's see here. And, you know, I think what helped them here and maybe made this all possible was that Baker bobbled a little bit, not just in 3 and 4, but he also had bobbled in 1 and 2 briefly. And it wasn't a big bobble, but it was just enough to get this run going. And here we go. Right as he gets there, Merck makes the move. He tries to go to the top, Dawson, and when he jumps, he's just not, I mean, he's there, but he doesn't quite fully commit to where Trevor's running at. And that kind of, you know, Trevor, to the last lap, you know he's not going to lift, so he hits Jeff on the right side, and at this point, Baker, he's just going to have to try to stay in whichever lane's got better momentum, stays top, then goes low. Veliky and Oswanoff bump and bang to the finish. Oswanoff holds on, and I think the only way to sum up this one was certainly crazy and something we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, what a great finish. Atlanta always produces. It produces tonight, and I thought for a second when they bobbled that Oswanoff and Veliky were going to have enough of a run, but just not enough cars, not enough energy. Tough break, and then Merck throws what ended up being a really great block. Now he finishes 9th, so tough break for him, but he saves his teammate the win, and Matthew Baker, the first multi-time winner of the season.
And in Jeff Merck's defense, by the way, this is the last point I want to make before we look at your finishing results here tonight. I think the block works, or maybe he's able to at least save it if he commits just a little bit higher, but he doesn't quite get up fully in the same lane that Oswanoff is running in, and that ultimately led to the offset hit that Oswanoff gave him that turned him around. But nonetheless, Matthew Baker is your winner here tonight. Multi-win season yet again for the driver of the number 5 car. Trevor Oswanoff finishes in 2nd. Landon Veliky in 3rd. Logan York in 4th. Jared Haynes 5th, with Mike Davenport back in 6th. Mark Vondell 7th. Matt Lee in 8th. Jeff Merck in 9th. And Christopher McCullough rounding out your top 10.
John Ward finishes 11th. Josh McCullough in the 12th position. Brock Westmoreland 13th. Garrett Maines 14th. Jimmy Emos in 15th. Evan Carlbon 16th. C.L. Smith 17th. Kenny McCullough back in 18th. Richard Elliott 19th. And Jonathan Herbert rounds out the top 20.
Moving on back to 21st here tonight. As we move the grid down just a little bit, it was Ethan Eckert, Steve Sizemore 22nd, Mitch Regatas 23rd, Dylan Jones 24th, Andrew Navarro in 25th, Larry McDonald 26th, Cody Nagels in 27th, Justin Mills 28th, Christopher Carter 29th, Sean Corbett in 30th, with Michael Triscaro 31st, and J.R. Miller in 32nd. All right, we're going to go bring your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Atlanta. All right, going to start with your 3rd place finisher here tonight, Landon Veliky. Landon, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you bring home 3rd here tonight, as it was a photo finish for 2nd between you and Trevor Oswanoff. A little bumping and banging coming to the line. How did you think that was going to play out with the run you two had coming down the backstretch versus the way it ended as you crossed the checkered?
I was just talking to Trev about it. I knew I had to push him, obviously, to make anything happen. I knew that Merck and Baker, they obviously worked together. I knew at least one of them was going to come up and block. So I was kind of anticipating that, thinking Trev wouldn't come back down. So I was like, okay. And I saw Merck get loose and everything. Like, okay, I have a chance to win the race. You know, I wanted that win more than anything. And kind of mad because I had it won the first or that last restart, and then they, of course, wreck in the back. I wasn't happy about that. But yeah, I didn't mean to door Trev like that. That was I didn't realize he was out there. I saw Baker come back down. I thought I had a gap, and I just bulldozed Trev. But we talked about it. We're cool. Yeah, I was trying to win a race.
Well, overall, a good finish here tonight. Maybe a little bit of a momentum swing. And, you know, with a race as crazy as this one, how were you able to kind of keep yourself in it the entire way, even with that big span of cautions we had at the end?
It's you have two, like, you can approach it two ways. You can either go up there, try and lead, even though it's a little different with this place with tire wear and everything. You can try and go up there and lead, be in front of everything, or sit back, save, and just wait for it to happen. And there was one point in the race that I was trying to pass Baker so hard by myself on the outside line just to lead a lap and get that point, and I couldn't do it, and I killed my tires. So I had to go to the back, just sat there, wait for the wrecks to happen. I got a little damage here and there, nothing, like 2 seconds worth. And then it started working out, that second overtime. Look who ends up in the lead, me and Jared. And that would have been awesome if me and Jared, even though I'm not on OSM anymore, that was awesome being up front with them. Then they wreck, and you just kind of got to reset. I had to pit, just, reset the mindset, right? Just go back out there, try and make something happen. And me and Trev did, and I'm glad we came away with a P2 and P3.
You guys did, and a great finish for yourself here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I want to thank Matt Lee, Cody Neagles, letting me run with him tonight. Logan Smith, CL Smith too. He's my Auburn teammate for college series. I convinced him to come and run this tonight. He didn't have a good night. He started off pretty well, but just got caught up in wrecks here and there. Want to shout out my granddad too. He's going through it medically right now, and we don't know how much longer he's got. I had his name on my car tonight. Really, really wanted to win that for him. Almost came away with it, but hey, I know he'd be proud of a third place, especially with the way that my streak's been going recently. I guess that's about it.
We appreciate you talking to us tonight, Landon. Again, congrats on the third place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, and now that'll bring us to your second place finisher here tonight. For the Jack Shack, it's Trevor Ostronaut. Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Travis, the boys in the booth, you get a copy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing?
Well, pretty good. I hate to say 0 to almost hero, but it's kind of the story of the night for you. We saw you get caught up in an incident late in the stage. It really wasn't your fault. Kind of was just an accordion effect, and over the course of the night, you just chipped away, and got a golden opportunity when you guys got around those two damaged cars on the race start. You come up on Jeff Merck and Matthew Baker. Anything you guys could have done differently there, you and Landon, that is, to get a 1-2 tonight instead of a 2-3?
Well, you kind of got to expect it. I expected those MDG boys to kind of stay together. I just talked to Merck. He said he was just so tight. He washed up the track. And, brother, I told him I wasn't lifting. I'm not going to be lifting for anybody else. It's just been how it's been all season, getting run over all the time, getting caught up in stuff. I've had probably under a top 20 for the past 4 weeks in a row. So I don't think there's really much we could have done. Maybe if Landon would have stuck with me a little bit, but he was going for the win too, brother. So I can't be mad at him for that. So yeah, man, I had 8 minutes of damage and 30 seconds required at the start of this race, and I was pissed. I was so mad. And I'm just sitting here, every caution, like you said, chipping away, watch it go down. And luckily, I still had a set of tires with wheel damage. I think the second to last caution, I came in and took those tires, and I just hoped for the best. And man, I wish I would have won this damn race. I've come so close so many times. But it's just another one for the bucket list I got to get. Second at Atlanta again. This time to Baker. So I can't be mad at B-Car Baker. Good win for him, man. So that's just kind of how I'm looking at it right now.
Well, I feel like coming into tonight, you kind of needed this run. It was not the start to the season that you wanted. After a few races, down in 24th in points, you needed a good run, and you get exactly that. And some guys ahead of you tonight did not have the greatest of luck. So you're going to get a lot of those points back. What does that do for your momentum? We're getting close to that midpoint, really late in the regular season, where points mattered that much more. You had a good night tonight. What does that do for your confidence going forward?
Honestly, I think you need a win. I think you need a win to get in. And everything else is just going to be based off of your finishing position, right? So confidence-wise, last week, the Shack came 1-2. This week, it's me, second place. So we're doing it up in the Shack, the lone soldier here tonight. And confidence-wise, man, it's getting there. I'm always caught up in something small, something else happens, and I'm just caught up. So I don't even know what to say. A little birdie told me I was the unluckiest bastard in money racing. So I'm just going to take that with a pinch of salt and go on to next week and hope for the best, brother, because tonight was a survival of the fittest. And like you said, a lot of big names got taken out tonight, a lot of chunks. I think the Baker Main's points lead is now lesser from where it was last week because of where he finished. So we'll just see how it goes, man. I got to get a win. That's the plan. Win and you're in, and not going to make the mistake like I did last year and not get a win. So got to figure it out somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we let you go and celebrate the second place finish, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Oh, brother, I got to thank the Shack, always. The Jack Shack always got my back. I got to thank Landon. I knew he was going to stick with me to get back to the front. Got to thank him for that push around the outside and at least a shot at winning. I was hoping to take in the hometown win tonight, but that didn't happen again. But it's all good. I got to thank you guys for the broadcast. Always an amazing broadcast every single time, especially with Mean Green and Big Hick in the booth tonight. Got to thank Ron, the best super speedway racing, period. Tuesday nights, RMR right now. If you want to come out and compete, man, this is where to be, where the big dogs come out. And yeah, so I'll probably see y'all here Thursday coming up for PGR Thursday night. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for the broadcast, and see y'all soon.
Well, we look forward to it. Congratulations on the second place finish tonight. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate, and we will talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Well, that'll bring us now to your winner, Matthew Baker, who joins us up in the booth. Baker, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
What's up, man?
Oh, man, here we go again with you and holding on to these wins somehow tonight. A bit more adversity than we're used to, where we have so many cautions the last 5 laps, 4 of them, if I counted right, that you guys had to cycle to the back. The leaders all night had to cycle back to about 8th place. You're coming out for that restart. It's a green-white checkered. You guys are 6th on back on new tires. And what was the thought process, and how'd you get to victory lane?
Yeah, so when we came down, I think we took 4 tires at the 70 lap mark. We were running really well and taking care of the tires from about 70 to 90, and then all hell broke loose. And Garrett went 3, but I mean he wasn't there, and just caused a situation where he knew Matt was going to come drift back up to the middle, as I'm coming back low in the quad oval, and he's been on my bumper the whole time, so I'm extremely loose to the quad oval. I didn't understand that move. It almost took me and Matt and Jeff out, but luckily it didn't. It kind of ruined his race, so I guess it's karma back on him. But yeah, then it was just surviving the restarts. Those 2 restarts where we were close on. We had to come and pit after they wrecked into turn 1. We thought the race is over, so Mark and I said, well, you know what, we'll just send it to the high side, see what happens. And the wreck gods played in our favor, and we got to get a good start. Logan jumped, went up top, and opened the bottom up for me. And me and Mark, it just looks like Mark got a little bit of tight, and then he got loose. I mean, I got loose entering the corner 2, entering 3, because we saw Trevor, and he had brand new tires coming behind us. So we were trying everything we could do to hold him off. I really wanted to get Mark the win there, honestly. I wasn't even blocking up there. The car just drifted up that high. Same thing with Merck. He drifted up just that high, and Trevor got into the back of him. But no, just happy to get the win.
First multiple-time winner this season, yet again, just like you were a season ago, and kind of the home stretch now of this regular season as we get closer to the playoffs. Obviously a regular season champion a season ago, a very dominant effort this season. Maybe not the win number, but still running just as well. So what's going to be different about the preparation for the playoffs? We heard you talk about multiple times you don't want to be denied the championship this time around. What's going to be different for you in your preparation as we get closer to the postseason?
Probably try and stay up front like I usually do. I feel like I've been making better decisions to put my car in the spot to get the win. It just hasn't panned out for me in the last couple of weeks. So the dry spell's over. It's nice. It's just time to get Merck and Triscaro those dry spells over. So, my approach to the regular season, just like it's been the last 2, is do what I can to try and get them the wins. And if I get lucky, I'll get some more wins. But I think just approach it the same way I did. I was pretty aggressive in the playoffs. Next week's going to be a challenge for sure at Michigan. It's going to be a whole different ballpark there. It's going to be really dominant with Garrett and Matt. So trying to learn from them through the middle of the race, probably practice this week, honestly, do some pack testing with it and see where the car's at after this new update.
Absolutely going to be a very important update to watch tomorrow afternoon. So before we let you go here and celebrate another victory for you on the season, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just thanks to Coasting Thunder, MBG Motorsports, Baker & Son Construction. Thanks to PGR eSports. Get the PGR 500 coming up next year. We'll have information on it hopefully by the end of September. We can get sign-outs up, but just want to make a plug. It's Suicide Awareness Month for September. That's why I'm driving the purple car. Glad to get in victory lane, push awareness for suicide awareness. If you see someone that needs help, get them the help that they need, get them to the resources, get them to the suicide hotline. And if you have problems, call that suicide hotline and get the help you need, because I'd rather you talk it out here than be crying at your funeral. So we lose too many people, especially in the military. You lose way too many people daily to PTSD and the horrors that they've had to go through with the brothers and sisters that I serve with. So it's a really important month to me. Happy to get the win.
Very important message as well. Congratulations on the victory. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. And we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, man.
All right, and that's just about going to wrap everything up for tonight. It was certainly a longer race than a lot of drivers probably initially anticipated, but still a race indeed that Matthew Baker was able to be crowned the victor of. Trevor Osnoff, Landon Veliky with big runs tonight as well. I mean, Dawson, overall, it was a crazy one, maybe something that a lot of people didn't expect. So I think next week we'll go back to kind of more of the ordinary, more of the things we kind of expect, and maybe get back to a little bit cleaner racing at the end.
Well, even tonight was appearing to be that way for the second half of this race. Really, after we had a couple cautions after the stage break, it felt like everything had just gone back to what we were used to, and we were going to finish it out green. And man, the end of that race was completely chaotic. Truly another unforgettable visual of those two destroyed race cars, 4th and 6th on the last restart, and that kind of just encapsulates the last 10 laps of this race. But a lot of fun. I love Atlanta. This prepped me so well for the race weekend. I'll be down there in Atlanta this weekend taking in the Quaker State 400. So can't wait to get down there, and glad to get a bit of a taste of what we're going to see this weekend here tonight.
Absolutely. Well, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We certainly hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green and Dawson Wise here on PGR eSports. Till next time, have a good night.